Hi, I'm Sarah,
And I'm Ellie.
and we are going to be talking about airport security and how it has changed as a result of 9/11 for many airports around the country, big or small. For the most part, almost everyone has either been on an airplane, heard about something about an airplane, or watched a movie with an airplane or an airport in it. But if you haven't, hopefully you're about to learn something.
So, your typical day going to the airport usually involves getting up a few hours earlier than you normally do, and then arriving to the airport 2 or 3 hours early, just so that you have enough time to make it to your gate before they close the plane doors. You have to wait in long lines to get checked in, and there's always that one person who has no idea what they're doing, and you get stuck behind them. Once you get checked in and your luggage checked, you swiftly walk into security just to beat 2 other people because they might make the difference in you making the flight or not. But your experience with the long lines aren't over because the security line is just as long as the check-in, maybe even longer. You will first encounter the first TSA officer who will make a long, hard look at your ID to see if you are who you say you are. You try to be as nice as possible, but no matter what, most of the time, they don't like you. Then, you have to scavenge for a bin and put your laptop and shoes in, and just think, you aren't even through security yet. But don't forget to take out all liquids or a coin, otherwise it might add another 15 minutes to your journey because they have to pull you aside and ask you more questions. Once you finally get your shoes tied and make sure you have all your things, you are now ready to go find your gate.
Just after hearing that makes me tired. However, airport security didn't always used to be this way, but that all changed after 9/11. Before 9/11, there was no TSA and private companies ran the security checks. The biggest company at the time was Secure America, also known as Albright Security. They did security for 180 airports worldwide and employed people at the airports where the 9/11 planes were hijacked and where the hijackers went through security. At this time, security was run by 1,600 poorly trained, low-wage private screeners who were hired as a cheap and efficient way to run security. They operated under approved guidelines that allowed items like blades up to 4 inches long, baseball bats, darts, scissors, aerosol cans, and liquids to pass through security with no alarm. Security people wouldn't even take a second look at suspicious people or any of these items.
So there also wasn't a very good communication between airport security and government for the no-fly list. So basically this means that some of the people on the no-fly list that the government had didn't get translated over to the airports, so some of these security members didn't know who they were actually looking for. Also, you didn't have to take your shoes off or go through a full body scanner. It was just a metal detector. You could also go to gates without a boarding pass and wait for your loved ones getting off a flight or getting on one. All of this security was held responsible by private security programs and were approved by the FAA. Many people thought this caused 9/11. I kind of think this definitely had something to do with it too, because if security measures were taken more seriously and there was a better communication between government and airport security, there's a very high chance that these hijackers would never have gotten through and they would have been stopped at the gates.
Security measures were not only changed before people got on planes, but also within the planes as well. I was able to read an article by flight attendant Heather Poole. She said that after 9/11, the flight attendants were now being taught karate and that the regular overhead bin checks became about looking for suspicious items among people's luggage. She also said that ill passengers might not just be ill passengers, but might be used as a diversion of some sort, and we're told to look out for that. We were also able to talk to private pilot Gary Shillette. Though he doesn't usually fly into large airports, he too saw a change in security around smaller airports. Hello, Mr. Shillette. This is Sarah.
Hello, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, I'm good today. So you have some questions about airport security post 9/11.
Yes, I do. So I was kind of just wondering if you were a pilot before 9/11?
Yes.
Could you possibly start by kind of describing like how the security was before 9/11 and then kind of go into describing how much it changed kind of after post 9/11?
Well, I think it depends on the type of aircraft and the type of airport that you're flying in and out of.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, this weekend flew down to a little airport in Indiana, huge airport, but it was all open all the way around.
Oh, wow.
No fence, nothing. Why? It would be too expensive for them to fence the entire perimeter.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Now, all these little airports that are in and around the city of Chicago, they have fences all the way around and gates that prevent you from just anybody from going in and out. It's also patrolled by the local police, but I rarely see anyone in there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But, you're given a special code to get in and get out of the gates. For the most part, everyone's a little bit on higher security. Before that, anybody could walk in off the street and just walk over by planes and take a look at them or talk to anyone. But after 9/11, that's all tightened up a little bit.
Okay, I do know you are a private pilot, but kind of just like for the future, is there anything that you would specifically like to see a change in? Maybe not just for like your private, like the little hangars for like the private airplanes, or like even in like major airports like O'Hare.
I think they're going to try to make it easier to get past, because right now everyone complains about taking off their shoes and their belts, and
Yep.
it's kind of, I'm not sure if technology will be the answer, or will you be pre-approved just to walk through. You know, there's ways in other countries where it's less painful. In some countries, in others it's worse. You know, they have dogs patrolling everywhere at the airports now. In fact, Illinois, at one time, they thought that our licenses were not going to be good to get on the planes because they're too easily duplicated.
Yeah, I actually read an article about that, and kind of with like other airports in other countries. I read an article that like in most places, like in Istanbul or Baghdad, they had at least like 2 or 3 security checks, which was kind of surprising because in the U.S. we only do like 1 security check. So I thought that was really surprising. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what the future of airport security is going to be.
That's a good question, a good topic. Little plane, I mean, they're only 2,500 pounds, fully loaded, maybe 3,500 pounds. And that's the other thing, is a lot of planes are categorized by weight, under 6,000, under 12,000 pounds, and over that. So once you get to the bigger planes where you've got multiple, like 20 or 30 passengers, the level of concern gets a little bit higher. If you've got, 4 people going for an airplane ride, the pilot who owns the plane typically is going to decide if this person's a security threat or not before he lets them on his own plane.
You did answer all my questions, and I just really want to thank you for your time and allowing me to ask some of these questions.
Okay, any questions, you call me back.
All right, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Good luck on the report. Thanks.
Gary told us that post 9/11 security codes and gates were implemented so that the public didn't have the easy access they had before. He is also supposed to report any suspicious behavior he sees on his aircraft, as well as trained on how to differentiate different kinds of behavior around the hangar.
So some major changes that are common now that we see post 9/11 are that no metal is allowed through. This means no metal jewelry, watches, coins, nothing, and you are required to have proof that, if you have a metal device implanted. Shoes must come off, coats and sweatshirts too. Laptops also need to be taken out of your bag and put in a separate tray, and liquids are only allowed in very minimal portions. This security is insanely strict, but is it necessary? We do believe that it is necessary because all of this is just trying to prevent another 9/11, and we want to protect our people.
Though most people would like security to be reduced, this might not be likely in the future. Technology is improving, and that means that security will have to become more high-tech as well. Using machines such as ID scanners to help check people's IDs and catch fake IDs could potentially help speed up the lines, but machines aren't perfect and might not be able to detect everything. We can also look at other airports around the world to see what the future of security might look like. For example, in Baghdad, they drop people off 4 miles away, do a vehicle search a half-mile away, security check inside and outside of the terminal, another one after they check your passport and check in, and then finally one more time before you get on the plane.
I also read an article by Ned Levi who explained that in his experience for security in Casablanca in Morocco, it was very different than here in the US. He explained that you have to put all of your luggage through an x-ray machine before you even think about heading to the ticketing, security, or global entry. And then after that, your luggage is x-rayed again before passengers can enter the gates.
I'm not saying that this is the future of airplane security, but we could potentially see more security checks in the future. Although waiting in stubborn lines is annoying and inconvenient, the amount of hijackings that have been reported in the U.S. has shockingly been reduced since 9/11. According to the Aviation Safety Network, since the attack of 9/11, there have only been about 50 reports about hijacking, and none of these have occurred in the United States.
Overall, security is an important aspect of traveling, and most people would rather go through more security than none at all. So far, since these security measures have been enforced, there has been a reduction in violence in airplanes and airports. We agree that we both feel safer in airports knowing that these precautions have been taken, and it actually kind of scares us knowing what used to be allowed on planes. Hopefully in the future, they are able to find ways to make security more efficient, but still keep them beneficial and thorough.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we hope you tune in next week when we talk about how to survive finals.